There we go. We're live. Hey, everybody. I'm Jenni June, child and family sleep consultant and lactation counselor. And this is my guest, Jennifer Brand. She is a clinical nutritionist. And today we are live at the Breathe Institute near UCLA. This is we're collaborative providers here for some amazing physicians who work on a concierge level and do some of the most amazing work with nasal airway breathing and sleep. And they're just a team of amazing doctors we're so proud to be collaborative partners with. But we're here today live discussing something that is a hot topic with a lot of you moms with babies under 6 months old. Somewhere typically when I see clients for sleep training, it's, some of the clients are 4 to 6 months old who have not yet started solid foods and who are suffering from eczema. And parents are really bewildered about, how do we help our child sleep better when they're itchy and their dry skin is uncomfortable? And, how do we discern the difference between tears of temporary struggle while they're learning a new skill or adapting to a new routine or sleep environment versus tears of suffering from that dreaded eczema? So we're going to talk a little bit about some things that maybe you're not hearing from your pediatrician or that is common knowledge out there. We're going to get down to some of the underlying things that can cause eczema. We're going to talk about what the definition is first, and Jennifer's going to give us that information. And Jennifer's also going to share with us, what these topical steroid creams really do and what they don't do, and how do we look at this with a baby who's fed formula versus a baby who's fed breast milk up until that 6 month point. Now, and if I get enough comments and questions from you guys and you bug me enough, I'm going to bring Jennifer back on the 21st to talk about, that's week after next, to talk about 6 month old through toddler years, especially around that 2-year-old state where we can do a lot more to test for certain things and, do a more thorough examination of what's happening. So I'm just teasing you with that one, but it's for real. You give me enough juice here, people, and I'm going to give it back to you and bring Jen back. And you're going to love when we get down into it on that level. So with that said, please welcome my guest, Jennifer, and start showing us, start typing in your comments and questions below, and we'll answer them as we go along. But my first question to Jennifer is, what is basically the definition of eczema?
Well, it varies, and there are different kinds of eczema, but generally it is the condition where we've got this red, itchy skin. It can be dry, we can blister, and it does. It varies between people, and but yeah, it wreaks havoc on quality of life and, of course, sleep. Right. And it is very difficult for both infants and as well as parents.
Right. And it's so hard to see your baby struggle, with those things. Mm-hmm. I see Matt is chiming in. Hi, ladies. Happy to hear you're all great advice. Thank you. Appreciate you joining us, Matt. And Wesley's joining us. And I think Kiari is joining us today. We've got all of our friends. Thank you so much. And please, if you guys have questions as we roll along, put them in the comments below. We're going to answer those. And Jennifer's also going to add some links to some important information that she's going to share with us today, so you can look at that more in depth on her website. It's amazing. JenniferKarenBrand.com. And again, we'll put links to her website and links to these documents that she's going to kind of elaborate on a little bit here. So thank you for the definition of eczema. That is definitely a good, general overall kind of description of it. But when we've got a little baby, what are some of the things that pediatricians are typically recommending in the way of topical steroid creams? And what do we do about those? I mean, what do they actually do? And what do those steroid creams not do? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so topical steroid creams can be extremely problematic in both infants and adults. So what happens is we can end up with what's called topical steroid cream addiction. And
topical steroid cream addiction.
And red skin syndrome. And then when we try to wean off of topical steroid use after long-term use of them, we can actually have topical steroid withdrawal. So what happens is the skin literally becomes addicted to these creams, and we can actually get a worsening of symptoms. And so that's actually mistaken often for a worsening of eczema, when in fact it's actually caused by the steroid creams.
That is a huge, huge epiphany. I had no idea. I hope you guys heard that. That's amazing.
This is a biggie. And on top of that, we have to remember that steroid creams are what we call endocrine disruptors, which means that they interfere with the normal flow and production of our own hormones in our body.
Yeah.
And this is especially problematic when we have young kids because their systems are still developing.
Right. Well, when you talk about hormones, that's where I get, I radar right in on that, because I see a lot of parents using synthetic hormones and such to help their kids sleep, which is not safe. There's these synthetic melatonin, supplements and such. They, especially for little ones under 2 years old, very unsafe. So that got my attention. And yes, these are endocrine disruptors, and they do impact our baby's hormones at such a young age. That can be kind of scary. I'm going to address some of your questions really quick before we move on to the next one, because I'm going to let you marinate in that good bit of information right there. So I'm going to rewind this here a little bit. So Jennifer says, wow, I didn't know that that was even possible to be addicted to those creams. So good to know. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Jennifer. We're with you on that one. Michelle says, my 11-year-old has eczema so bad, mostly on her legs. She scratches in her sleep, causing it to weep and bleed very bad. We've tried everything under the sun in her 11 years of life. We don't know what else. Let me see what else we got. What else to do other than cleaning the gut? Let's talk a little.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we're gonna get in, Michelle. We're gonna get into this more in depth for kids. Older. Once they start solid foods and how nutrition and gut health is gonna impact eczema. We're gonna have a much more in-depth session about. I think you just triggered it for us on the 21st of June, so week after next, Thursday after next. But I do want Jennifer to kind of touch on that gut health thing you brought up. Excellent point. Let's talk a little bit about that and tease everybody for a week after next.
Yeah. So when we're talking about eczema, while we don't have a specific cause that's known for it, what happens is the immune system goes into overdrive, and there's some sort of environmental trigger that's causing that. So that trigger can be a variety of things. So it could be something in our diet, and it can also be something in our gut. And so this is exactly, we're talking about gut health and our gut microbiome. So our gut microbiome is actually our second largest organ after our skin. And when we have imbalances there, which can be anything from an imbalance of our normal gut bacteria, we can have overgrowth of some bacteria, we can have infections in there. And this goes beyond, if you go to a regular GI doctor, they might check you for C. diff or H. pylori or something like that.
Right.
So when we're talking about kids that are ages 2 and older, we can actually start looking at some of what's called functional testing, where we do comprehensive digestive stool analyses, and we can actually see what's going on with the gut bacteria beyond these common infections. And so when we have weird stuff going on in there, maybe problems with digestion, leaky gut, all of this causes inflammation. Which can be a trigger for eczema.
Excellent. Great description of that. And interesting, if we're going to weave sleep into this, I'll kind of piggyback on that. The microbiome system is on a cycle that's actually connected with our circadian rhythm cycle, which is what we need for sleep. When the immune system goes into overdrive, typically that's because we are in elevated levels of stress. And that mostly happens with little ones when they're sleep deprived, and with us too. And the first thing that happens when our stress levels are elevated to chronic states of stress, and that fight or flight is triggered, it really does impact the microbiome cycle as well. The first thing that we start seeing impacted by this on a physiological level is the digestive system. And because it's, when we're sleeping outside of our natural biological rhythms, it throws off that microbiome, gut cycle that they're on. Those two things are connected. So they are very connected, and we want to make sure that we're addressing both good gut health and good microbiome cycles and digestion and all of that. But that's also very, very connected to sleep health and safety. The sleep hygiene, my trademark 4 pillars of sleep hygiene, are what ensure that, whether or not you're wanting to sleep train your baby or not, that we're at least providing well sleep, that children are sleeping in sync with their natural biological rhythms, and also that we're implementing evidence-based nuggets of solid sleep science into their existing care routines and feeding schedules that do help to kickstart that natural melatonin production, that powerful natural sleep hormone. without any medications or synthetic supplements, and also it signals to the brain and body that sleep is about to come. So when you do go to lay your baby down for nap time or bedtime, the brain and body have the hormones present to do what we're asking them to do with as little stress as possible. So it's very interesting what we're learning here from Jen about how these things are connected. And it just gets me, I got goosebumps, because I just love when we just have these epiphanies and we collaborate and we find out that we can have it all. You can have and provide great gut health and great, healthy skin and all these things through health and digestion.
Absolutely.
And have good sleep.
And one thing I want to piggyback on what you just said with the stress factor. Mm-hmm. So our bodies don't recognize the difference of where the stress comes from. Whether that's like a physical trauma or emotional trauma or whatever it is, the stress response in our body reacts the same way, and the hormone fluctuations and all that are the same. And so, and it's absolutely tied to the gut microbiome. And in fact, there are studies, and I have some of this information on my website, so you guys will be able to see some of this. But there is research that shows that stress can actually cause dysbiosis, which is that abnormal gut bacteria, as well as leaky gut. Ooh. And when we have leaky gut, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably heard of, especially if you're familiar with eczema, it's a major trigger for eczema. So basically the lining of our gut, the cells are one cell layer thick. So that's really thin. And so anything that disrupts that balance and causes inflammation in the gut, so like, pretend this is the gut lining. Mm-hmm. So the cells, like, they start to come apart a little bit, so it becomes permeable. So this is leaky. So what happens is you get food particles that are not completely digested, too large and should not be in the bloodstream. Mm-hmm. They get into the bloodstream. The body mounts an immune response against it. And this is how you get food allergies and food sensitivities in particular. Wow. And so this is an example of something that can cause the immune system to go into overdrive. So when we are looking at kids that are a little bit older, like 2 and up, we can start doing some testing to see what's going on in the gut and determine, if we need to heal things up in there and what we can do to resolve any inflammation and dysbiosis that might be in there.
Love that definition. And I'm curious too, Jennifer, you said the immune system going into overdrive. Can that also be triggered by some of these topical creams that disrupt the endocrine system, like you mentioned, or?
It can cause stress on the body. Absolutely. Okay. When we have disruption in our hormones, that's a stressor on the body. So any abnormal sort of stress, something happening in the body that should not normally be happening, can definitely cause a prolonged stress response in the body. And that kind of response can put the immune system into overdrive.
Okay. Wow. I've learned a lot. I don't know about you guys, but I could sit here and do this all day with Jen, and I'm definitely now, we're bringing her back because she's full of all kinds of wisdom, and I'm looking forward to learning more. I'm just going to scroll back and rewind some of these comments and questions and see if there's anything that we missed here that we could answer for you. Let's see here. Lots of love. Thank you, everybody. Amy and Hanny and Baby League and Family League and Rochelle, thank you for all that love. Okay, so Michelle, hopefully we've kind of tapped into your question earlier about your 11-year-old daughter and her eczema. I love that you kind of got us on a great spin with the microbiome and that that gut health and gut bacteria. And hopefully Jen was able to kind of fill in the gaps or answer some questions or maybe give you some confirmation or clarification on what you're suspecting might be happening. And we are definitely going to get into this more in depth on the 21st. So come back. I'm here every Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And I bring in new guests this whole next couple of months. I'm going to be bringing in different collaborative providers here from the Breathe Institute. This is just such an amazing thing that's going on here with the way that healthcare is being approached here at the Breathe Institute. I highly recommend that you, after you visit Jen's website, jenniferkarenbrand.com, and Karen is spelled C-A-R-Y-N. So Jennifer, Jennifer, Karen, C-A-R-Y-N, Brand, brand.com. Go to her website. I'm going to have the link here. We're also going to put some links in the comments below to some of the specific PDFs that she has available to give you further information about this, so you can really dive in and do some good research and follow up on the wonderful nuggets that she's provided for us today. But I'd also like you guys to visit the Breathe Institute website and look at all the different collaborative providers and how they approach health on a functional, structural, and behavioral level. And we're doing some new exciting things here and bringing in an amazing collaboration of practitioners. So please check us out. We're located here near UCLA in the Westwood area of Los Angeles. And the website for that is thebreatheinstitute.com. And of course, my website, jennijune.com, and I'll have that in the links as well. So it's just Jenni with an I, June is in the month.com. And I have some wonderful baby care videos. They'll get you through the first year of baby's life, some terrific blogs, and also how I work. I'm a coach here in Los Angeles, and both Jennifer and I work, phone Skype sessions with clients all over the world. So if you're wanting to sleep train or maybe get into some nutritional therapies and get some help from Jen on that level, you can contact either of us through our different websites or the Breathe Institute, and we'll get the ball rolling and get your little ones sleeping well and healthy. All right, with that said, thank you again for joining us, everybody. We sure love you and appreciate all of your engagement. And continue writing your questions and your comments below, and we will answer those throughout the week and get those links to you. All right, see you next Thursday at 1 o'clock Pacific time. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.